This week on the Blitz, well, the winter thaw begins. It's a warm one here in Vallejo, and that means baseball is around the corner. But first, still got a lot of hoops action to talk about here on the Blitz. Talk about that. More fallout from the Astros cheating scandal. Just keeps growing and growing. We'll talk about the return of Hunter Pence and the Panda. Maybe a mega baseball trade? Maybe. We'll find out. Maybe that's happening. Maybe there isn't. I'll try to have my little talk with old school baseballers before we go into next season. Put all my grumpiness with them from last year away. We'll put that away. We'll talk about all that more coming up on the Blitz. Let's do this. Good afternoon, Vallejo. Timmy Fitz bringing you the Blitz. Here on 89.5 FM, KZCT Vallejo. Hope you're all doing well. February 10th, 2020. Hit me up on Twitter at TimmyFitz76. Do the same for my co-host, starting with Stephen Babb.
Hey, that's Bab Sports, BABBSPORTS on Twitter and Instagram.
And Chris Zavaglia.
Chris_Zavaglia, ZAVAGLIA.
And there you go. Be sure to go to OzCatRadio.com. Support your community radio station. Click that donate button. You help make community radio go right here in Vallejo. How was your weekend, guys? Let's start off with that. Let's have a little, how was your weekend chat at least?
Mine was good. I did a little PA work for Solano College for the Falcons basketball doubleheader on Friday.
Very nice.
Missed out on Fan Fest for the Giants on Saturday. Unfortunately, I was a little bummed about that, but prior engagements. And then I stayed out way too late last night. Oscar celebration, I guess you'd call it. I don't know.
Sure.
But I'm not mailing it in today, guys. I'm here. So
way to soldier on. Chris, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was low key.
Yeah.
Worked at my other job on Friday and Saturday, and then covered the men's basketball for Cal Maritime on Saturday night against UAV.
Yes.
Your facial expression says it all, and I'm right there with you. Tough game.
Let's start with that. It's the Fitz Blitz. Let's go hyper local. What a mess. My weekend was great. Friday, hung out with some friends, little gentleman gyms.
you had the day off.
Sort of.
Friday night off-ish.
Yeah, I did. That's right. Didn't have to do a whole lot Friday night. That was nice. Got to socialize. And then covered that mess in Antelope Valley with you on Saturday, Chris. You know I don't go after refs and officials very much.
No.
And I have an expectation of, hey, we're at this level. It's the NAIA level. Same thing I do with the Pacific Association. I remember Commissioner Jonathan Stone and I in the 2017 season. It's like, I'd like to do something about the umpires. Maybe raise their pay. Maybe add a third one. Try to improve the umpiring, the officiating in the Pacific Association. Brought it up in a league meeting we were all at, and the retort to him was, well, we're at this level. It is what it is. Just like the players, you get A-ball umpiring too. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. I'm like, very true. And so I kind of agreed with everybody there, and Jonathan's like, oh, thanks, Tim. I thought you were going to stick up for me on this. But, half jokingly with me. Where I did stick up with the commission on it is, but here's the thing. I find these officials to be far too sensitive to criticism. The double standard they give to where the players can retort or be upset versus how upset they can get over something is imbalanced. And everybody in the room agreed with that. So I'm well aware of what officiating at a certain level is like, what you're going to get at the NAIA level. You're going to get some guys who work high school and community college and maybe some NCAA games. So I am aware of that. But there is a certain bar, even that level, this level has to keep versus really just utter chaos at times. And it's unfortunate because the game we're talking about here, Antelope Valley, UAV, is number 17 in the country, the entire country. Cal Maritime's receiving votes. They get some top 25 votes. They're not officially in there yet. There may be nationally somewhere around 30-something, I guess, if you were to try to put a dart onto it of where they are nationally. They're probably in that range. And so that's why it was a real killer. That fouls on three-pointers, a couple of them decided this game, especially one with 4 seconds left. Maritime up by 3, ready to knock off the number 17 in the country. To have this bailout of a call really was the cherry on top of a mess of an officiating game. I had to delete some tweets a couple hours after the game to say, you know what, I'm going to dial it down a notch. I'm an SID of this school. I'm going to keep my more mild, hinty tweets. I had some more mild, hinty, subtweeted tweets that I left up there that I felt were more appropriate for it. But it left me frustrated for 2 days, Chris. I'm just now coming down from the boiling point to a simmer at best.
No, without a doubt. That game was tough. I mean, that game alone had 49 fouls total. Between 25 for Cal Maritime and 24 for UAV.
How many people fouled out? That's
there
crazy.
were
Borja.
Right here.
Keelhaulers center. This game goes to overtime, and we're without our center because of it.
There were 5 people. Yeah, without a doubt. 5 people with 4 fouls, and then there were a handful, I think 4 or 5 with 3 fouls as well.
Wow.
So a lot of fouls between the two teams. I saw it was a lot of ticky-tacky calls, just calls you don't make, and especially that one with 4 seconds left. It's just, I don't know, you can't, if you're an A, you can't do that, but if you're the refs, you can't really call that. I mean, to put the game on a three-pointer where you're fouled 4 seconds left, and especially in a guy's hands that leads the, I think, top in NAI in Division II in free throw percentage as well.
Yeah.
And Ronnie Rousseau.
Rousseau, he got the Jordan treatment, man.
He did. He really did. A slow first half for him. Keeler shut him down, and then the second half started to heat up. And then earlier on, it was when they originally tied it after the Cal Maritime led for about 15 minutes. Essien fouled him earlier, had 3 free throws there. So a lot of just too close on, just too picky with the fouls, and just, I mean, I get it. You know, it's a big game, 2 teams battling out for each other, especially at the top of the conference. But you can't put the game reliant on fouls. I mean, between the 2 teams, too, I think free throws were 60 free throws between the 2 teams. That's just insane.
Yay. That's fun to watch, let me tell you. And it'd be different if it was just that call. And it was not.
No,
it was chaos
no.
throughout the game involving, you know, after that foul even, how much time should be left. When Maritime brought it up across half court and called a timeout, they had to have a conference about that.
The technical foul?
The texts were...
I'm sorry. Know what you're doing out there, man. I mean, 3 conferences?
If UAV came to it and had some sort of big complaint about this game's officiating, I'd go, yeah. You know, if the opponent said the same thing, I'd be like, yeah. You know, I would stick up for them a little bit too. So it was one of those games where each side could have complained for days, and it's just not what you want to see when 1 versus 2 are going head to head in a critical conference matchup to try to even a season series for our boys in Vallejo here. And so I'm pretty frustrated. Felt like they got hosed. Had a chance to knock off that number 1 team. Not that they didn't get a little cold. They missed some shots at the end, made a couple mistakes, but they did enough to win this game without that extra little help.
No, yeah, exactly. And like you said, I mean, these are 2 of the top teams in the conference. You would expect a game that maybe isn't called as tough between the 2. You know, you maybe see a lot more fouls than, you know.
Top 2 defensive teams in the conference.
Exactly. Top 2 defensive teams. And the defense both teams played a great defense, especially in the first half. I mean, it was 26-22, and both teams offensively are scoring around 80 points a game. So it was just a bad game overall from the refs, and it's a shame that it had to come down to the fouls.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, that it came down to that is the real bummer of it. I had a great Friday, and then for some reason Saturday night it just got grumpier starting around 7:30 on through about 10 o'clock. It just got worse and worse. So Maritime is at least still an 18-win team. They're 6-4 in conference play still now. Still in the 2 seed, have some tiebreakers, have the easier schedule remaining. They'll return to Cal Maritime Saturday. First, a trip up to Engwin, California to take on Pacific Union College. That's Thursday at 7:30. And then Saturday, we're back here on OzCat Radio, if I'm not mistaken, taking on UC Merced. Yours truly on the call, because Chris and I are going to switch roles Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Chris is going to learn to be the SID for that doubleheader during the game, and I get to be the broadcaster. So we're going to get a taste of each other's worlds here.
I'm looking forward to it,
Get a
Tim.
taste of mine, at least.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be running around. I'm going to
Yeah.
be really feeling how it is to be official SID, man.
Steven, you got to
sir.
work some local action as well with its own testy moment. What the heck was that about?
You know, Merritt College came in and played Solano in Fairfield, and the men's game it was a good game. Solano came out ahead, and then the ladies' game in the Bay Valley Conference, Merritt won, Solano 2, and only behind by a game.
Okay.
And Solano's ladies team plays with a lot of energy.
Okay.
They're super tough on defense. They're a high energy team. And Merritt came in and kind of played a little bit more bully ball, wanted to slow it down a little bit. And where I was positioned doing PA work on the table, I was right next to the Merritt bench.
Yeah.
And there was just... the refs were letting them play a little bit, especially
so you
down
had the
low.
opposite game of us.
Yeah, a little bit. And, you know, you see this in the NBA too, at the NBA level. There's a lot of foot shuffling going on when players kind of jab step and start to go.
Oh, yeah.
If the refs were going to call it on every player every time, there would be no game.
Yeah.
In the game that I watched and witnessed on Friday. So they were letting that kind of slide a little bit. They were only calling travel if it was blatant and it was obvious. But if it was just a quick, going, there was a lot of walking down low, especially actually by Merritt's power forward and centers.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, if you really want to get ticky-tack at the top of the, beyond the arc, where Solano was doing a little bit of shuffling, you got to call it down low too.
Okay.
But they were there. It got physical. They were letting it play. And it came down to the wire. Solano ended up pulling it out and kind of pulling away with it. Merritt kind of collapsed a little bit, but Merritt played their tails off. Nothing bad about them at all. But there was a lot of talking from the bench. Their head coach got teed.
Okay.
There was a player got teed. There was just a lot. And it got real physical towards the end.
Wow.
And then there was a skirmish, which I went over, shout out Greg Poff and the Solano crew over there that were broadcasting the game. I kind of went to go chat with him, and then I heard something, and I looked down, and there's a melee on the court between players and fans and, like, all kinds of yelling back and forth. And I didn't really see what started it or really, who all was involved. But I know Solano got their team off the court quick after that. But they won. They're now tied to the top of the Bay Valley Conference, Solano and the Thunderbirds. So, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun action to watch. And you definitely get a different point of view and a different perspective as opposed to sitting in the stands or even on a broadcast.
Yeah.
Because usually on a broadcast, you're up off the court a bit. You don't get to
locked in every little moment, every little call you're making. This pass goes here. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you being that close to it and that close to the court and hearing all the conversation back and forth, it was interesting.
It can be.
I really had to be careful when I had my mic hot and when I had it not hot because that would have gone out.
Pointed at that bench over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what sort of bad officiating you come across, keep in mind it's not worth a melee on the floor.
Nope.
It's not worth getting fired by posting something you shouldn't on social media. So you bite your tongue, you put your keyboard away, and you just leave it alone, and you stew over it for a while, like I have this weekend. So one more hyper-local story. Let's talk about the Pacific Association's Pitcher of the Year. That man is Dakota Freese of the Vallejo Admirals. If you've gone to Admirals games this year, opening day starter. Now, the long blonde hair coming out of the back of the hat also functioned as a pitching coach this season. Former Oakland A's draft pick Dakota Freese, Vallejo Admirals, was the Pitcher of the Year. It is the first Pitcher of the Year award for the Vallejo Admirals in the Pacific Association. Gotten close twice. Got close with Dennis Neal in 2014. Got real close with Demetrius Banks in 2017. This is the first winner of the award for an Admirals. Congrats.
Yeah.
To Dakota Freese.
Shout out Dakota. And it was fun to watch him and another Admirals pitcher, Carl Bryce.
Yeah.
Who were kind of going back and forth, top one, top two in strikeouts for the season. Yeah. And they, I had a chance to chat with Dakota a little bit and even Bryce. And I, kind of just, off the cuff asked, how is that going battling? And they're like, we love it because it keeps us focused and it gave him something to do. But yeah, shout out Dakota. Big honor for that. Also, some more Pacific Association news. The Sonoma Stompers, Dondre Hubbard, just got picked up by the San Diego Padres into their system. So,
yeah, he was kind of a beast all year.
Oh my gosh, he raked all year. It was one of those where whenever the Admirals face Sonoma, you're kind of like, man, just let him have one home run, maybe not two, or because he was raking the ball.
Contain him. Can only hope to contain him, right? Yeah. And so it's good to see that if you flourish in this league, if you stand out, you can still get scooped up, and that tends to happen once, twice, a handful of times a year in the Pacific Association. So that's great to see. Chris, your thoughts on these couple of Pacific Association honors, especially what you thought of Dakota Freese when you would cover him this year?
Yeah, I thought Freese pitched well every time I saw him. He's a guy that's going to stretch it out for you. He gave PJ Phillips, at the very least, I feel like every game we watched 5-6 innings, mixed in a really good curveball. Changeup was nice. Really had command this year, what I noticed.
More so than previous seasons.
Yeah. We had a chance to, my first year working with you in 2018, go out and see a little bit. But, even in spring training, too, when we went to the tryouts with him, you could tell he was one of the, leaders on the team just out there. But, great achievement for Freese, and hopefully he can get something, too, like Hubbard. Because I remember Hubbard, man, that's a big dude out there, and he can crush the ball for his center field. He's big, he's fast, he's quick, and he's definitely MLB skill level.
So that's our hyper local segment here on the Fitz Blitz. Let's go back to the hardwood real quick. Golden State Warriors made a big old trade, one that we were wondering about last show. Like, okay, what are they going to do with D'Angelo Russell? They save him until, do they give it a go as him with the 6-man next year? Maybe moving Clay to the 3. Do they trade him in the offseason and really can really evaluate what they can get out of him? Do they flip him now while he's healthy and see what they can get for him? And they decided to go ahead and flip him now, which is the thing I was leaning towards. Like, man, if he gets hurt, then you're kind of stuck. So while he was healthy at the deadline, flip him for picks and a former number 1 overall pick in Andrew Wiggins. Now, Steven, I want you to do something for me here. A little exercise in this. Picture Andrew Wiggins, the former number 1 overall pick. A guy who has averaged pretty much right around 20, 23 points a game almost his entire career in the NBA. Picture that guy gets picked up by the Lakers. Picture they swing a deal for him. Picture something like this happens in a different sport. Picture it's the New England Patriots picking up a former number 1 overall pick who can score but has his flaws with dominating the ball, not being very efficient, being a pretty bad player defensively ratings-wise. What do you think the reaction is if one of these programs like that, Cleveland in their heyday with LeBron, a Celtics dynasty, one of them picks up him in comparison to the reaction I'm seeing to the Warriors picking him up?
If you went to the Lakers and say Kuzma role, which I don't even know why Kuzma's still on the Lakers, to be honest. LeBron seems so frustrated with him, and you saw it a lot on Saturday when they played Golden State. And Kuzma just doesn't offer much. But you plug in Wiggins in that role, and all of a sudden, Rob Pelinka just fleeced the league. Oh, my God. Like, they're a lock now. And a narrative that I hate right now is, do it for Kobe. Yeah, now they're all in for Kobe. It's like, no, come on. They wanted to win a championship before, before January this year. Like, before everything that happened, we don't need to. But, they would be praised. Yeah. Like, to no end. In fact, it happened last week. You'd still be hearing about it today.
Right. It'd be the smartest deal out there in the NBA right now.
Oh, my God, Rob Pelinka, was it front office guy of the year? Like, wow. But the Warriors get him, and what happens?
Then it's like, he's going to piss off the rest of that lineup. Oh, that's not going to work there. Oh, he can't. He's not going to fit in with that team. Who's going to shoot too much? Oh, when Steph and Clay come back, that's not going to work at all.
Yeah, he was actually, I heard, called a garbage player. Seriously?
Here's the thing, everybody. The Warriors are the Patriots now, okay? If you can't evolve your game here with the Warriors, you'll never be anything. The Wiggins joke is how much his volume shooting will tick off the rest of the Warriors. That's not how it works around here. Not anymore, especially. He will evolve his game and get better, or at least adapt to the Warriors' plan, or be gone. And it'll be on him. This is the Warriors getting something for something again. D'Angelo Russell, we heard Steve Kerr say it, never quite really fit. It never was a fit. So I know some people felt, they gave up on him already. They gave up on him. No. he was getting something for KD. It was like, well, KD's walking. Let's try to get something, an asset we can turn into something. Oh, here's a good player, D'Angelo Russell. Let's try to get him back for it. And then we can roll with it or flip him again. Maybe that's what happens to Wiggins. Maybe Wiggins is just here for a couple years until the draft picks that are involved become something. Because, I mean, there's a 2021 pick in this that's only protected if it's top 3. I don't expect Minnesota to be that bad next year. And so you would think the Warriors are going to end up with a mid-first round pick out of this next year. It's unprotected at all in 2022. So really, he's not even the focal point of the trade for me.
No, not at all.
To be honest with you, he's a former number 1 overall pick out of Kansas, the Canada native. Former first overall pick, plays forward to maybe just fill in the gap until the picks acquired become players. But he's just like getting something for KD as well. It's just now expanded past getting something for Russell.
And yeah, and that's something that, I heard talked about a little bit more hyper locally here in the Bay Area, that essentially you flipped a free agent that was walking anyway. For now you have Wiggins, a former number 1 overall pick, 2 draft picks. Like, how is that? I mean, that right there is, Bob Myers fleecing the league, if you want to talk about it, where you're letting somebody is walking anyway. And, and also shout out to Kevin Durant for allowing the trade between Brooklyn so the Warriors could get D'Angelo Russell in return and turn this into what it is. And it's a fantastic fit.
Agreed.
And everybody wants to talk volume shooting. Wiggins, his stat line in 31 minutes, he was 8 for 12 from the floor.
Right?
It was his most efficient shooting game of his career.
Yes.
He had 5 steals.
Man, 24 points in that one, yeah.
24 points. Like, he played amazing defense. And it was joked around that he played more defense in the first 2 minutes of the game than D'Angelo Russell did all season with the Warriors. Which, I mean, that's really not that far off.
Yeah.
And that was a big knock. Would he be engaged on defense?
Okay.
And, I'm with you. The Warriors are the new Patriots.
Right.
It's about
the new
culture.
Lakers and new Celtics
Lakers.
to keep it in NBA, but nonetheless, yeah.
It's all about culture.
Yeah.
You get in where you fit in, or there's the door.
Yeah, or they don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? So we've heard all this before, but the Warriors still get no respect. Boogie wasn't going to work. Russell wasn't going to work. Bogut wasn't going to work. Iggy off the bench wasn't going to work. Adding Durant wasn't going to work. And drafting Draymond and Steph wasn't going to work.
Wasn't going to work.
But people don't realize they are like those Laker and, dynasties of the Celtics, where they can take on, say, perhaps an underachieving player in Wiggins, if you can call that underachieving, just because he's inefficient and bad defensively, and make them part of the system. They adapt or they don't. Maybe it won't last. Maybe he's refocused right now, Wiggins, on, man, I'm with the Warriors. I left the Timberwolves. Like, regardless of where their standings are right now, that culture, like Steven said, matters. That vibe, that what you're in really matters. And I think Wiggins will pick up on that because Minnesota, okay, they're on their way up. They're playing better. Still the Minnesota Timberwolves, okay? Yeah. There's not a whole lot to hang your hat on history-wise and in as far as a culture. So this could be the spark for Wiggins, that he needs. He thought he was being drafted by the Cavaliers, right? And then they flip him draft day or shortly after, something like that. So he's finally in a situation like he was in college, sadly, freaking Kansas, but to where we may see him take his game to the next level. Chris, your thoughts on this deal overall and Wiggins himself?
I think it was a good trade for both teams. I think the Timberwolves got what they wanted. They wanted a guy that
they were after Russell hard since the offseason.
Exactly, and they got a guy who's ready to take on, I think, personally, the challenge of running a team. I mean, you saw that in Brooklyn. He turned over that team, made a playoff appearance with them. And this year he's averaging a career high in points. He's averaging around 23 points per game. Yeah. Granted, Steph and Clay aren't there, so that's why, maybe elevated it a little bit more just because they don't have the depth they usually would on the team. But all in all, still a good season for Russell. Yeah. And I think he's going to mesh well over in Minnesota with with Cat. I think, the pick and roll game is going to step up a little bit with them. I think they'll mesh really well. They already had the bond there. And for the Warriors, I think it is. I agree with you guys. I think it is a good trade. Wiggins reminds me, and I've seen in some articles too say it, he reminds me of a better Harrison Barnes.
Okay.
He's able to extend out the floor a little bit. He's a more pure shooter, I think, in my opinion, than Barnes overall. Maybe not from three-point, but overall, I think he's a better shooter. And he definitely is the more natural fit for Clay and Steph rather than Russell. I mean, Russell, like I said, he wants the man show. He wants to be the number one somewhere. So he got it in Minnesota now. Yeah. Now you have that quote unquote ego out of there to where Steph and Clay can do their thing now. And Wiggins is like, oh yeah, we have Wiggins.
Yeah.
We can mix him in there too. And so I think it's a good deal for both teams. I think Golden State got what they wanted out of there. And like you guys said, I mean, the only thing that kind of gets me too is just the contract. They take on, a similar contract with Russell. But all in all, hats off to the Warriors on making a good move and stepping in the right direction.
Live looking at the Chase Center, though, after the games, most nights you can see the Warriors owners doing their Scrooge McDuck dive into all the money that they're in. So I think they're okay on that contract. Yeah.
But so actually, too, what this deal did is they let 2 players go, which gets them out of the repeater tax.
So Glenn Robinson and
Evans.
Burks.
I'm sorry,
were part of the trade.
Burks was part of the trade. Yeah.
A different trade to get some second rounders back. And yes, Evans was part of this one. Yes.
Yeah. So it was, And so, again, talk about facing the league. You're saving yourself, I think it would have been like $60 million over the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's just in luxury tax stuff. So, and also, what makes it good too, I think, for Minnesota is D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns are like really good friends.
Yes,
and they've been talking about wanting to play together. Even Russell said last year over the summer, they wanted to play together.
Yeah,
and so I think it's a really good fit for them. Wiggins is not going to be asked to do what he was asked to do in Minnesota.
True,
that takes so much off of his shoulders.
Yeah.
I do like the Harrison Barnes comparison. Wiggins is longer. He's got a 7-foot wingspan.
Yeah.
But Barnes, I think, is more of a dog on defense than what Wiggins is now, currently. But defense is something you can learn. And defense is something that changes with effort. It's not like offense where, either you can shoot or you can't. You can put in hard work, but, I mean, you're going to go up maybe a couple percentage points, But whereas on defense, you can learn to play within a system and you can learn to play within a scheme. So I definitely think next season, you'll see an uptick in his defensive productivity. He had 5 steals on Saturday in his debut. He never played in, this is a brand new team, brand new system. I don't even think he's played in Chase Center yet. And so it's like you're going into this completely new space and you have the production that he did. Now, you can look at his rebounds and he had 2 rebounds. For your small forward or power forward, you're going to want a little bit more. Sure. But like I said, new system. Once you get used to where the spacing is on the floor and the players you're playing with, that'll tick up. But, I mean, his defense looked really good. And so, I'm really happy as a Warrior fan for this trade. And I think he's going to be a great piece next year. And that contract and stuff, I'm like, whatever. What are you going to fault him? Because Minnesota
NBA contracts are what they are,
Yeah, and a lot of them are inflated. I mean, Tristan Thompson, guys get
Although
paid.
that poor guy deserves a buyout. Didn't Cleveland acquire some center? Now he's stuck there. It's Andre Drummond,
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Thompson.
Not happy about that, man.
I would. My fantasy team's not happy.
You know
about
who wasn't
Tristan
happy
Thompson
about
was
that
a nice
either?
little scoop for me.
You know who wasn't happy? Drummond wasn't happy about that either. Not at all. Like, he actually came out and said, I gave everything I had to Detroit, and I'm in Cleveland.
I know, right?
Like, that's exactly how you want to endear yourself to a new team.
Yeah.
But anybody who's ever been to Cleveland, he's got a point.
Exactly. Well, especially in the rebuild mode that they're in versus, Detroit was hanging in there a little.
I don't think they're ever going to build anything.
Oh, man. Yeah. They had that one blip with their boy from Akron, and then it was good.
And what's funny is their boy from Akron,
oh boy,
he put them in this bad position with these contracts that he helped get. Tristan Thompson was making $18 million a year.
Yeah,
he was making more than Steph Curry when they played in the finals
when he was the unofficial GM for a minute there.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
and he got Kevin Love paid.
That was part of the trade for Wiggins. Was Kevin Love?
Yeah, and it was kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, he just leaves a path of destruction everywhere he goes.
Mind-boggling.
It bottles the mind.
A different reunion happened for the Warriors. They've got another one happening this week, tonight. But a different one was them going to Brooklyn and again filed into the Warriors get no respect column. Kevin Durant was cordial as can be, talked about how much he loved his time here, how much he thought of Steph. We saw them all embrace each other, hang out, Draymond, everybody. Everybody looked like they're great with each other. And again, it felt like Durant had to reassure everyone again, no, the Warriors didn't put me out there to get hurt. You know, it's just over and over and over. He keeps having to defend the organization with that, regardless of what everybody else says. And it was good to at least see, like, when that happened, when he went to the Nets, there's sometimes where you can say something's a perfect marriage. This was the perfect separation, too. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to go here, and you guys got D'Lo instead, and thanks for everything. Won our title. I helped expand my game here. You know, it was like perfect exit, but the league, again, I don't know if it's the Warriors no respect or the gossip column that is the NBA, you know, the scandalous column that is the NBA, what it was that, kept wanting to drum this back up. But it's good to see that at least the actual people involved have zero animosity towards each other or there's any sort of resentment to the Warriors.
And a big kind of testament to that is that game when the Warriors went into Brooklyn was the first game this season that Kevin Durant sat on the bench. Mm-hmm. And why? Because he wanted to be there.
Yeah.
He wanted to see his buddies. He wanted, that was a big deal to him.
Yeah.
But, man, and we can maybe touch on Rachel Nichols if you want, like in the things that she says regarding certain things around the NBA. Okay. The narratives that the ESPN is controlling is just off the charts ridiculous.
And KD felt the need to say about it. It felt like, the media wants to do this with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, famously, Kevin Durant exploded on the Bay Area media, Ethan Sherwood-Strauss, which Ethan Sherwood-Strauss was just like a small microcosm of the overall narrative that he was hearing.
Agreed, yeah.
Kevin Durant, he's a different kind of guy.
Yeah.
He listens to the media. He listens to Twitter. Like, he pays attention. Who cares? Okay, fine. He's a millennial. That's what millennials do.
Yeah.
And it bothers him. It gets to him. Some can argue it shouldn't. Some argue, who cares? Right. I'm on the who cares camp.
Gotcha.
He's his own man. He can react however he wants to react to criticism.
Yeah.
I don't react very well to criticism. I'm not Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So, that backlash, I think, was really aimed. Ethan Sherwood-Strauss took the tip of that spear, but I think it was a broad kind of explosion about the national narrative when it came to Kevin Durant. Because it was getting old. What are you doing? Where are you going? You coming back? And it was just that was just, it got to be too much. And so, I don't even watch ESPN anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
I religiously watched ESPN in the 90s. Yeah. I mean, my guy Stuart Scott, as cool as the other side of the pillow. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott. Dan Patrick, all those guys. I sat and watched them religiously. I can't tell you the last time I watched ESPN.
Yeah.
I just can't.
SportsCenter,
Yeah, I can't.
Chris, a new reunion now coming up for the Warriors with Andre Iguodala in town. But Iguodala first had to take a little heat from players on the team he got traded to when the Warriors got in this cap situation to take on D'Angelo Russell's contract. And Ja Morant felt disrespected by Andre Iguodala. He felt like, he doesn't want to be here. We're going to roll with somebody who does. Like, dude, youngin', kid, child. This isn't how... Andre Iguodala does not need to feel obligated to go somewhere at this stage of his career with this much under his belt because of the Warriors needing to do a cap move. A veteran has a little more control over that situation. Ja Morant definitely sounding rookie-ish in his talk involving Iguodala, Chris.
Yeah, it definitely came out, just... Doom's rookie, spells rookie all over it. I mean, him and what Dylan Brooks had to say, like you said, I mean, Iggy's been there, he's done that, he's done everything that he's needed to do.
It's like, who are you?
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's done everything that he's needed to do. He's proven himself time and time again. And like you said, I mean, he's in that stage of his career where he can be like, dude, I don't want to play here. Yeah. I want to play where I want to play.
Yeah.
And so he did what he used his leverage. He didn't report, and he wanted to get traded to a team that was at least in contention, or a team that he would mesh well in. And I think Miami's a great fit for them too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be able to help them off the bench, especially, a veteran piece, just like he was for the Warriors coming off the bench, that 6-man. It's just Morant, I think it's just he's soaking it in a little bit too much in that rookie spotlight, thinking, hey, I'm the man. I can say whatever I want now. I've earned that respect already. But it's like, all right, eat a little bit of humble pie first, like have a little
something.
Yeah, don't you can't say that about a guy who's been 15 plus years in the league like that. You can't disrespect him like that, man.
He's a Finals MVP.
And
right.
Exactly. And Curry, quote unquote, clapped back at him.
Yeah.
And Morant and him mutually, came to terms and, cooled down about that. But yeah, I mean, Morant and Dylan Brooks, I mean, yeah, the Grizzlies are good, but you guys are nothing special.
Like, slowly roll first.
Exactly.
He said, I can't wait till we find a way to trade him so I can play him and show him really what Memphis is about. Oh, I bet Iggy was scared about that. Steve.
Why don't you show other teams in the NBA what Memphis is really about before you focus on one
and don't
guy?
Get me wrong, they're an up and coming team with a lot of nice parts.
And Josh talented. Like,
yeah.
But I mean, come on. Kind of just know your place in the pecking order of the NBA. And I think Curry responded with a picture of Iggy holding his Finals MVP trophy and the Larry O'Brien trophy, and had 3 rings or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was pretty funny. And I mean, all in good fun. I mean, do you really, John Morant, want to tangle with Steph Curry?
Yeah,
I mean, in the landscape of things. Now, Curry's a fun-loving guy. He wouldn't even take it to a point of anger or anything like that.
Yeah,
and would just laugh Ja off. To be honest,
without a doubt.
But and I do think Iggy's going to be fantastic in Miami. And Eric Spoelstra is my second favorite coach in the league.
Okay,
behind Steve Kerr.
Right.
Spoelstra gets a lot, kind of like Kerr, out of the guys he's got, and. The gangster, I'm forgetting his name, their GM, Pat Riley.
Oh, yes.
Old mafia boss. He is I love Pat Riley.
Oh, yeah.
And he slicked hair, pinky ring, gold chains. He is awesome. And I think he will put pieces around. I mean, he's already started, maneuvering different pieces. And I think the addition of Iguodala to that team is going to be big for that team.
Yeah, Steph stuck up for Iguodala. To which Iguodala said, yeah, that's my guy, laughing. I would do the same for him, but I understand the generation that we're in.
Yeah.
And now he says millennials, but John Morant, I think, is past millennial. I think he's on that Gen Z now. Yeah. So everybody keeps lumping in millennials. Millennials are almost 30 now, guys. Just want to point that out, everybody. The new millennials are dealing with
I'm so sorry, Chris.
And how see, he's a Z though too. I think he's post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's post.
Millennial stopped in 96. I'm 97.
Oh, right on the other side.
I'm kidding.
Iguodala says, I understand the generation we're in and how social media comes into play and how someone could feel that to a young guy and it grows. So Iguodala says, every player in the league is my guy. I'm a union guy. Players come first. Their safety, their security, job security, health, their mental health. But yeah, I don't take any of that personally. In the background, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear Dirt Off Your Shoulders by Jay-Z and Timberland in the background while he says this. So they are, he played with the Miami Heat Sunday night, taking on the Warriors. Or rather got to Miami Sunday night. Now he's going to take on the Warriors tonight. A little reunion going on, which will be nice. He comes home to face the Warriors for the first time since the trade to the Heat. And, it might be the Chase Center kind of somewhat described the house that Stephen Clay built. But nonetheless, Iguodala played a big part in that too.
Yeah, he laid some bricks for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So... it's a Finals MVP, so he's going to come back into town, and we had the captain quote machine himself. That would be, of course, Draymond Green. Draymond talked about Iguodala coming back in town and taking on the Warriors, and this is going to be probably even more sentimental than Durant. Meeting up again, or when Brooklyn comes back here, really in comparison, with how that sentimental feel will be between the two, with him coming back, in town, taking on the Warriors. So Draymond, I'm pulling up. I had that quote ready to go, and he said, "I'm gonna flagrant foul him, a flagrant 2, as soon as I get the chance." We know Draymond's joking.
Yeah, and watch them both sit tonight. I'm really hoping that Iggy plays and isn't sitting. It is a back-to-back. He hasn't played all season.
Right.
Really hasn't played in, a year and a half.
Almost.
So I really hope he plays. And what did he play? I think 23 minutes or something last night. So
okay, it was in. Okay,
yeah.
right.
So he was in last night. And was productive. Was active on defense. He had a nice strip steal when he first got into the game, which was really cool to see. So it didn't look like he skipped a beat really as far as his play.
All right.
Because this isn't Denver Iggy. This isn't
not Philly.
Philly Iggy. He knows his role, and I think he plays really well within that role. So I'm hoping he plays tonight. I do agree with Draymond that it is a more sentimental kind of reunion than what it would be, say, for Kevin Durant, because Iggy's like the biggest name. I mean, you can throw David Lee, but that was kind of a trade. Biggest name to come to the Warriors in free agency.
Yeah.
He started it. And
that was the point where I'm like, oh wait, these guys might be good. When wait, they're bringing him off the bench.
Yeah,
this might be a decent team this year. Yeah,
and he was the perfect veteran leadership that the team needed when he came over to Golden State from Denver, and he really helped change the culture of what was going on. Now, Mark Jackson was there. Mark Jackson, preached defense, and Iggy, he can play defense even if your offensive game and maybe you're not as athletic as you were, because he was a monster athletically in Philly.
Yeah.
So, he knew that where he could get sharp would be defense. And so he really kind of helped change the culture, I think, and the veteran leadership that the team needed. So I could see how it would be more of a significant reunion than, say, a Kevin Durant. Not that it's not going to be cool when Kevin Durant does come back and play, but I think Iggy carries more weight with the fans, with the organization, and just what he actually brought to the team. Because I really don't know if they're winning any championships if they don't have Iguodala.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and hear from Draymond now.
Flagrant foul. Flagrant 2.
Like in the first quarter, or
As
like
soon as I get a chance.
It's a quick ejection, flagrant 2.
It'll be worth it. I get to talk about that for the rest of my life to him, so it'll be worth it.
Do you have a favorite Andre moment? I mean,
oh man, when you play with a guy like Andre, who's obviously become a brother, it's hard to talk, point out one moment. We share so many good times together. I think, if any moment stands out more, my favorite moment for him is when he won Finals MVP. That's something that not a lot of people has done. So for him to get that honor, I think it's hard to put anything above that. But just as a personal moment, it's hard to pick. When you're as close to someone as I am.
So Draymond's good friend back in town with Iguodala. Not like being able to pull a Finals MVP off your bench in that time period, Chris. So what was it about him that kind of stuck out the most? And that the Warrior years, even something from the Philly or Denver years, that Iguodala always was kind of first on the list of, well, he's going to bring this.
No, he just the alertness he brings.
Okay.
I mean, he's just so on top of what he does, whether it be offensively, defensively. He's a guy that knows where he needs to be, where other people need to be.
The quarterback on the floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the commander and he's the leader out there on the court. Whenever, even with Clay and Steph. I mean, he's a guy that is gonna be at the right spot at the right time. Take on that challenge on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe not now, with him aging, but, a few years ago, he was definitely that guy where the Warriors are like, okay, you're guarding, LeBron James.
Yeah.
You're going to take on that task because they can trust him, and you can trust him. And especially now with the Heat, I think he's going to bring, with that young team, I think it's almost going to calm them down in a way. They have a guy who's, like I said, who's been through the playoffs, who's been through it. He knows what success is. He knows what you need to do in order to succeed. Mm-hmm. And so I think him fitting in Miami, I think without a doubt he's going to bring that to the table. It's going to calm that team down, maybe even improve them a little bit too, just because they know, hey, we have this guy here. He knows what he knows what we need to do, and as long as we buy into it and we trust him, I think they they make the playoffs and they might make a decent little run. I mean, you never know. It's like I said, a young team who's succeeding, playing a lot higher expectation wise this year. Teams saw it maybe a couple years with that, but Butler and the rest of them were making a huge impact immediately.
Yeah,
and so without a doubt, I think Iggy is, like I said, his alertness, his just veteran presence, I think is just the one thing that you're like, yeah, that's what he has. He's got it.
The awareness 99 on the player rating for Iggy,
I like that you said trust, because as you were talking, that's the first word that popped into my head, is that you can trust Iguodala to make the smart move. His basketball IQ is off the charts. And I mean, his IQ in general, he's an extremely intelligent person. Kind of like if in football, like a Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the right place at the right time. And even if maybe his skills are diminished, he's older, he's aging, that doesn't matter, because he's still going to play smart. And he's going to bring a calmness to that team. You're right. They are playing a little bit above what their skill level should maybe suggest. Like I mentioned before, Spoelstra will get enough out of that team that I think they're going to be a good team. It's fortunate for them that they're in the East. So you don't have to be great.
I know, right?
You can be good. But I actually think this is a great bump up for them. If I had a favorite Iggy moment, and a lot of people don't remember this or realize it, but have you seen the memes or the jokes whenever Steph Curry hugs somebody, like they're coming to the Warriors? Like that's the thing. Like when he hugs Antetokounmpo, it's like, Antetokounmpo to the Warriors.
Right, yeah.
So you've seen those.
Yeah.
You know where that started?
Was
Andre Iguodala, when he was in Denver and the Warriors beat them in that playoff series, he hugged Steph Curry and whispered in his ear, "I'm coming."
Oh, okay.
So that was actually the catalyst for all of those funny things, because then whenever Steph Curry hugged KD's coming to the Warriors. And so now it's kind of a fun joke. Yeah. But that's where it started. Gotcha. And I remember it vividly because that was a great series. And that was where you can finally start to see the change in the Warriors and the Warriors culture.
Yeah.
And and I can see it right now, and you guys out there could Google this, where Iguodala hugs him and he whispers in his ear. And he was a free agent, and he pissed off George Karl something fierce, because George Karl expected him back.
Yeah.
Because he was actually a key piece on that Denver team. They had Melo, and they were doing really well, and could possibly make noise in the playoffs. And he walked. I actually think George Karl talks about it in his book.
Okay.
Like he was upset that a key player of his decided to leave to the team that just beat them, a la kind of KD.
Right.
But you don't see, because it wasn't on the same magnitude, because people don't look at Iguodala as being that big of a player.
Sure.
But I mean, for the Warriors, it was.
So Iguodala at age 36 will join the Heat to help them out. When we look at the Warriors for the rest of the season, there's been this sentiment of, just put Curry in bubble wrap, put Clay in bubble wrap. Let's not even worry. Let's collect the ping pong balls. Let's try to keep getting higher up for that lottery pick. But there are changes now to where the lottery is set up. So we're seeing a lot of the bottom team. We're seeing Cleveland do things. We're seeing some of these bottom teams not wait until to try for the big draft pick, put it all there, trying to, we may only end up with the fourth or fifth pick. The way the lottery isn't, quite as favored for us as we used to be if we're tanking. So, let's actually get some parts in right now, get some pieces in. So we've seen that. For the Warriors, it's the same kind of thing. I would like to see Steph and Clay play this year. Just for momentum for next year, to say, okay, let's see them in the same offense on the floor with Wiggins together. Let's see this group play together with this bunch. Let's see Damian Lee with them. Let's see all these parts together, and at least for a chunk of season, a month, maybe. If that's it, that's fine. They're going to end up with the lottery pick. They've got this pick in the Wiggins trade. They got more second rounders added, moving Burks and Robinson. I think they're good on the picks. They'll find players. I would like to see a month of Steph and Clay with this group at least to finish.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think actually kind of an important part of that, which I heard Anthony Slater mention over the weekend, was if you go back to, was it Paul George when he broke his leg during an Olympic practice, like a scrimmage, he came back at the end of that season for only 6 games. But he mentioned how important it was for him to test it out, to feel it in game time situation. He didn't play very much. I think it was like 15 minutes or so for those 6 games, each game. But he was able to trust that leg and trust that he was healed from that injury, which I think is going to be huge, because then for Steph and for Clay, if you trust that your body is healthy You can go into the offseason and you can put in work. But if you don't have that trust on that injury, you're going in, you're like, man, should I baby it? Should I do this? Should I do that?
I've had that feeling.
Yeah, and you don't know how far you can push it. Whereas if you're in a game and you can feel it and you start to build trust and build trust and build trust that you're healed.
Yeah.
But the kind of, at least for Clay, the kind of opposite side of that is if he's not, he may never come back from that if he re-injures it.
True.
And that could end it completely. So
A little different, with a knee ligament versus a hand injury.
Yeah, and it's Curry's. Curry doesn't have an offhand, but it is his left hand. So I mean, and I think I trust the Warriors. I trust Bob Myers, and Bob. We trust I think they will make the right decision on how for him to come back, and they're not going to leave it up to him because we've seen him want to play on that torn ACL
The night it happened.
So they're definitely not going to leave anything up to him because he was running up and down the hallway trying to. I'm good.
Yeah.
Put me in.
Yeah.
Rub some dirt in it.
Yeah.
So, I trust them to make the right decision for him, but I do think it's important for both of them to see court time this year going into the offseason.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a break on the Blitz, and we'll come back in the second hour of the Fitz Blitz, talking a little big league baseball right after this here on 89.5 FM KZCT, Ozcat Radio in Vallejo.
SWAT, busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box. Had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole field. I'ma get laid.